Hi, this is Cam Weiland, and you are listening to the 10th episode of the Wordplay Podcast. This week was marked with the cheerful triple epoch of 2 visits to the dentist and a cold. Happily, however, I've started to make some definite progress on my book trailer, and I'm very pleased with how the script came together. My wonderful brother, a video editor, agreed to do all the difficult technical stuff for me, so I'm feeling relieved and slightly ecstatic to have that load off my shoulders. Learning a tricky video software program on a tight deadline isn't good for anyone's sanity. The winning Wednesday prize drawing for the fascinating book The Age of Pilgrimage, The Medieval Journey to God by Jonathan Sumption remains open until Tuesday, August 11th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. To enter, answer this week's question, what was a jongleur? You can submit your response using the form at the bottom of the left-hand column on my blog at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, or email it directly to me at km.weiland@ymail.com. Listeners of this podcast can also get a head start on next week's contest, which features the prize of a beautiful Behold the Dawn mousepad. To enter, answer the question, which of the following was not a common medical practice in the Middle Ages? A. Bleeding. B. Visiting sacred relics. C. Herbs. D. Anesthetics. Be sure to check the blog every week for new winners and new prizes. Until then, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or complaints, please feel free to contact me on my website at kmweiland.com or my blog at wordplay-kmweiland.blogspot.com. That said, please enjoy this week's recording, Choosing Your Character's Career with Care. In the 1998 movie Ever After, the character Prince Henry, played by Doug Ray Scott, complains that, to be so defined by your position, to only be seen as what you are, you don't know how insufferable that is. To which Drew Barrymore's character responds, you might be surprised. A gypsy, for example, is rarely painted as anything else. They're defined by their status, as you are. Like it or not, that's the truth. We're defined by what we do, by our jobs and our career choices. Mention a profession, mechanic, stockbroker, bull rider, and definite images and presuppositions pop to mind. As writers, we can hardly afford not to take advantage of those presuppositions when crafting our characters. In the September 2009 issue of The Writer, Andre Dubus III pointed out, I once heard a writer say that the last thing he does in the creation of a novel is to give his characters jobs. How, I wondered, can he ever begin to know them in their downtime if he doesn't know what they do all day, or night, first? Our jobs say an awful lot about us on so many levels. They influence what kind of lives we end up living, what kind of people we're around, how we feel and think about ourselves in the world, etc. Choosing your character's career should never be a slapdash decision, made on the fly and based on little more than impulse. What your character does for a living, even if it doesn't feature prominently in your story, will profoundly affect who he is and how he responds to the world around him. When writing my fantasy Dreamers Come, I struggled for months with my main character Chris Redston. As a simple beat reporter, he just never seemed to have the guts and the panache that I needed from him. But as soon as I tweaked his profession to make him a foreign war correspondent, his entire personality was instantly beefed up, even though he is never shown on the job in the book. Sometimes a career choice is so inherent to the plot that it's immediately obvious. In A Man Called Outlaw, my characters couldn't have been anything but ranchers. In Behold the Dawn, the story would have been entirely different had it focused on anyone but a competitor in the tourneys. However, there's no doubt that sometimes your character's career won't be central to your tale. In such instances, how do you go about selecting a career that will both define him and add to his character? Best-selling mystery writer Elizabeth George, in her fantastic book Right Away, One Novelist's Approach to Fiction and the Writing Life, explains that she tries to give my characters either a job or a sideline that gives the readers a hint as to who they are. She encourages authors to look beyond the obvious, and often stereotyped occupations. Instead of a doctor, why not a prosthetics manufacturer? Instead of a stockbroker, why not a debt collector? Browse the yellow pages for possible job matches for your character. Keep your eyes open for interesting business signs as you drive through town. Make a list of the careers of people whom you run across. Choosing your character's career is a fun process that can often open up subplots and facets of personality that you may never have thought of otherwise. Force yourself to look beyond the obvious, and don't always settle for the first notion that pops to mind. Just as you choose your own career with care, put the same amount of attention into choosing your character's professions. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmwyland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.